I miss the old Idubbbz. Idubbbz, friend of the show, Ian Idubbbz, came out with a video that was expected. For a while, I assumed that this would be coming, and it's finally here. I assume there will be more of this as well. The description of the video is, I haven't spoken candidly about my feelings on this channel. It's always been obscured by video criticizing someone else or some kind of skit. I've changed and matured during my time here on YouTube, and I'm glad that I have. Here are some charities that I'm supporting. Can't wait for the dumb motherfuckers to go crazy over this video as well. Something that I've talked about a lot. Change, rehabilitation, becoming a better person, growing. 37,000 dislikes. That's what change means, okay? To your old audience, this is the reaction. This, however, is a new audience, an audience full of people who also have demonstrated similar levels of growth on maybe not as public issues or maybe not as issues as bad, but certainly, you know, you've had your own journey in a similar capacity. I certainly have. I'm very open about it. I've talked about it a lot. Let's see how reasonable chat will get when I finally look at the video on Idubbbz. I miss the old Idubbbz.
Felt like if I changed my content over time, that people would see that as a reflection of who I am and what I value. But I'm starting to realize that that is a very weak and passive way to, you know, run my channel and live my life. So I think it's, you know, if I'm going to have the balls to go to Tana's fan meetup and say slurs at her and then make a video about how it's okay to say slurs, I think I should have the balls to make an apology video and take accountability for the mistakes I've made. So that's what this video is. I've realized that I need to be crystal clear about what I believe, so there's no room for ambiguity. I am responsible for creating a lot of hurtful and damaging content on this channel, and I've also created a culture of apathy and, I don't know, a lot of like cruelty as well. Like, you know, some of the videos I've made have been very, not edgy. I don't think they you know, some of these videos were edgy. I think they were just outright cruel. So I don't want people to, you know, get it confused about, you know, where I stand. I have made some cruel, hurtful content, and I need to acknowledge that, and I'm really sorry that it's taken me this long to acknowledge it. The content I'm talking about specifically are content cop videos and videos where I was just generally criticizing people for very lackluster,
Lame and boring. Just sad. His content is bad. He's just virtue signaling in the opposite direction. This is not the way, man. What is the way, grill master? Can you tell me what you would do when you're done grilling, being the master of the grill? What would you do in that situation if you were like profoundly popular, like insanely popular, and the content that you made was like hyper fucking edgy, okay? A lot of it actually did stand the test of time, for the record, except for the obvious like groped up elements within it. But if you cultivated an audience of that and you slowly but surely, you know, changed, became a better person, and then you turned around and actually did something that I believe is very courageous, which is apologize. I think it's a very adult thing to do. Very adult thing to do. It's a very brave thing to do, especially doing it in a very public way. It takes a lot of balls, especially when you kind of know no one is going to fucking receive it positively. Because here's the thing. He's not going to get a fucking welcome mat on the left. Okay, that's never gonna happen. So that's number one. I don't even expect him to. Okay, in this community, I would like you to, but I can't force you to, and it gets very annoying every time I bring this shit up.
Reasons, and you know, obviously didn't have any accountability online whatsoever on my end. I was morally grandstanding and acting as if I am any better than any of these people that I was making content cop videos on, and I'm not. I'm a human. I'm a real human who makes mistakes. And, you know, I make a different set of mistakes than the people I was making videos on, but it doesn't matter. I don't think anyone deserves that level of cruelty or hate. It's also indoctrinated a lot of people into thinking that this is an okay way to behave, and it's not. It's super irresponsible and shitty. I am very insecure about my ability to create interesting content or like entertain. It's gotten better over the years, but it's something that I have struggled with constantly. And it's one of the reasons why I, you know, kept making this hurtful content. You know, I ended up pivoting it into other things because I felt bad about it, like innately, but it's still something that I struggle with. And I don't want you to interpret that as an excuse, but I hope that that is relatable to other creators who maybe struggle with the same thing. I'm not confident in my ability to entertain, and I think if I had to rely on my personality to entertain people, that I wouldn't have any amount of success. And that is
Dude, he nailed it, dude. That's it. I always say this, dude. People do fucking edgy jokes because they want to be funny. And I know this is someone who's not funny, who wants to be funny so fucking bad. And when you can't be funny because being funny requires you to be clever, smart, quick-witted, you know, sharp, fast on your goddamn feet. When you don't have any of that shit, you go over the low-hanging motherfucking fruit. And that low-hanging motherfucking fruit is always what drives a reaction out of the audience. And what drives an easy reaction is always the hackiest, most racist, most edgelordy shit you can say.
I was being very bigoted in a lot of my videos, and I justified it because, you know, I didn't think it was too serious. And I thought that people were going to see that I had good intentions, you know, but that's so silly, you know. Casual racism is still racism. Casual bigotry is still bigotry. And, you know, I said a lot of things that I look back at and I cringe now, and I'm like, that is an awful thing to say. It doesn't matter what my intentions are. Like, if I'm hurting people, I'm hurting people. And, you know, who the fuck knows what my intentions are? Like, sarcasm and, like, jokiness and jokey tone only goes so far, especially over the internet. Even in real life, that's, like, an impossible thing to know with 100% certainty. I've just always had this dumb philosophy that I'm not responsible for, you know, my audience and how they behave beyond what content I put out, and that's stupid. And it's led to a lot of hate and a lot of bad outcomes. And I just want to make it clear that I am absolutely responsible for my audience. And, you know, I guess if you want to, you know, look out for people who are red flags, it's definitely people who had my mentality that say, I'm not responsible for what my audience does. I know that this apology isn't enough. I've clearly done a lot of damage. You know, these videos have been up for a long time and have accumulated millions of views. I shouldn't be able to just make an apology video and walk away from it. This is something that I should live the rest of my life with, and I expect to. I've profited off of this bigoted content for years, and I've made a successful career out of it, and that's not right. I think that this is only a step in the right direction, and I know that a lot more needs to be done.
By the way, I want to pause here. This is 10-10, okay? Also, I hope all of you dumb motherfuckers in the chat that were popping off in the Discord, popping off in the chat, fucking understand why I was defending him earlier, like a couple months back, when he hadn't made a video like this. But I was trying to tell you, like, no, he is a different person. And you were like, it doesn't matter to me. He hasn't changed. Like, fuck you. Sometimes you need to listen to me, okay? Just sometimes listen to me. Well, like, I feel like I've done enough work for you to at least have a little bit of charitability and a little bit more understanding when I fucking tell you something. I still have resentment even after you vouching for him and he's showing some good attitude because no formal apology. I think this video will be good for many that had the same sentiment as me, especially other POC chatters. We good now. Dude, this is like an apology that Ben Shapiro would have to do. You know what I mean? to start the path of restitution. Like, he was nowhere near as bad. But if you knew his, like, old content and you knew how he was when he was here, you would have already, like, and you had like a little bit more empathy, you would have probably recognized it anyway. But I get it. I get, like, this is like very emotionally charged when you see stuff like this. When you remember his old content, and most importantly, not his old content, but what his old content did, and all the people that when you were growing up watched his shit and probably was saying fucking slurs to you directly. You know what I mean? He was a profoundly popular content creator, especially for our generation, for our age group. So you just can't, like, separate that.
I'm sorry to everyone that I made content cop videos on. I still don't like the majority of you, and that's fine. But I can recognize that you did not deserve the hate and harassment.
See, this is what I mean. Like, yeah, I'll take it one step further from what he's saying. No, that's valid. No. A lot of the content cops were valid. And I say this as someone who watched them, like, years later. I had never actually watched any of his, like, videos. I didn't, if you recall, I basically fucking watched them on stream a couple of years back. And the reality is that, like, even back then, the reason why a lot of his work stood the test of time was because the people that he was shitting on and the way he was shitting on them were pretty fucking valid for the most part. There are some that, you know, obviously were like the internet villain and he was, like, going after the internet villains and whatnot. But, like, ultimately it was the execution and what he was actually saying in them, like the edgy stuff that he didn't even need to do, that his content actually suffered due to, in my opinion, or the timelessness of his content suffered due to the fact that he was, like, trying to also do the, like, edgy libertarian shit.
I particularly want to apologize to Tana. Tana, I'm sorry. I should have never made that video. I harassed Tana in person and then harassed her online, and that's deplorable behavior. It's so stupid. I'm also sorry to all the black viewers and minority groups who had to put up with that video and put up with, the phrases. I said either it's all okay or none of it's okay. And that's just so dangerous and stupid. Now I want to talk about events and situations that have happened over the past 5 years of my life that have led me to the place I'm at now. One year I was at a convention and a bunch of fans were, wanting pictures, and this particular fan came up to me and said, "I know you probably don't like transgender people, but can I, get a picture?" That smacked me in the face. I was like, oh, holy shit. Why would you think that? But I mean, it was fairly obvious.
Yeah. You know what's ironic? I bet that trans person was probably pre-coming to terms with who they are, was probably a major Idubbbz fan too. Like a major Idubbbz fan who was probably just this fucking edgy, By the way, that trans person could be in here right now. There's a very high likelihood. But anyway, like there are many such cases.
I was being cruel, hateful, bigoted, and being very uncaring about people's feelings. That is a very fair assessment to make. I was giving this person bad vibes, and I think I've given a lot of people extremely bad vibes. Another event that was very important for me to experience was I went on a boxing podcast. I was basically like trying to walk back my Tana content cop. I was still very like insecure and uncomfortable with the fact that I made that video, and but I was still coping. You'll see me struggle in this clip to, say that it was wrong.
So I just wanted to let you talk on that, right? Because obviously using the N-word is definitely frowned upon by a lot of people, especially by a non-African American. But I was just curious.
That was a very weird video because I wanted to like criticize her for her like sort of flagrant use of it. I've been pretty flagrant about it too, not in the same way. I thought there was a message to be shared there, and I don't think it was particularly. It was okay in criticizing her, but I think I probably wasn't the person to deliver the message, if that makes sense. There was a message that I was trying to put out there, and I'm not really the person to put out that message. I don't regret making the video. I think, there's bits and pieces to take from it that I think are valuable, but, I probably wouldn't make it these days. I'm very grateful to those guys and how they broached the subject because, it didn't put me on the defensive. It just made me realize, I'm stupid. And I really need to acknowledge these things. Like what am I doing? I'm still trying to make excuses for myself and why I made that video. It's it was a dumb idea. I harassed someone. I was saying slurs and I was trying to justify it all. A very big thing that has sort of altered my view on all of this is just the amount of hate and harassment my wife Anissa has received over the years. She's had to deal with it from the beginning of our relationship. And I have done a horrible job at acknowledging her and her feelings for it. A lot of the time I just thought that was her problem, or that was other people's problem. It's not my problem that you're getting hate and harassment. And it's no, it absolutely is. That's the culture that I cultivated, and I didn't do anything to change that. Over the years it's changed a little bit, but I don't think I've still fully acknowledged how responsible I am for the amount of harassment that Anissa has had to deal with. And this year I decided to speak more candidly and be more open about who I am as a person and to speak on my life a little bit more. And I did that on Anthony Padilla's podcast. These are the people that I'm attracting. These are the people that I'm entertaining. I need to reevaluate things. They're relating and enjoying this content for a reason. And that's not maybe the same reason that I'm trying to make. I had a very Wild West mentality when it came to online behavior. People are going to do what they want to do. People are going to say what they want to say. And I can pretty much do the same because it's the internet. But I think you have to be a lot more responsible. If you guys are at all interested in how I've arrived here, that video gives, a good bit of context and talks about some of my life a little bit. In closing, I want to say that I have always thought that I was an empathetic person because I thought, well, I get angry, I get sad, of course I got empathy. Seems easy, right? Empathy? I definitely have that. There were moments where a dog would die in a film and I'd cry. So it's of course I have empathy. But I never did. I think only in these past couple of years have I gained the ability empathy, and I'm very ashamed to admit that. It sounds really pathetic to say at the age of 32 I've acquired empathy, but I have, and I've realized it because I just like can't help myself but like feel for other people's pain and suffering now. I'm still not perfect. I think that is my empathy meter's only maybe like a quarter of the way filled up potentially, but it's at least there. And I just want you guys to know that you can unlock ability empathy if you experience more life. It might take you getting hurt a little bit, but it's worth it. It is so worth it. So thank you for watching, everyone. I do want to create more regular content, and I don't want to just have the next 5 videos be apologies. So I have uploaded a squirrel video on my second channel if you want to watch that. I guess as one final thing, I just want to thank everyone who's given me the space and the compassion to grow as a person, because it's taken longer than it probably should have. I appreciate everyone, and I think most importantly, I appreciate my wife, Anissa. She has been insanely compassionate and helpful and patient in allowing me to grow over the years, and has legitimately encouraged me to be a better person.
She's dope.
Not a better person in just like the, Idubbbz becoming woke kind of way. She was the one who said that I should try this boxing thing. I would have never done that on my own because I was insecure and I was pathetic. I did this, and I am so glad I did. It's been amazing. So, Anissa, I love you. You're amazing. Right now you're streaming, but bon voyage, toodles.
Great video. Content apology. It kind of feels weird just fucking rating someone's apology, all jokes aside. This is quite literally what I set out to do. Not saying that I played any role in Ian changing his mind. Obviously I didn't. But this is what I believe in. What I believe in is the capacity to change. I think that we are products of our social conditioning. We are products of our material conditions. It's impossible to, it's sometimes impossible to overcome that. And it takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of work to sometimes, depending on what your starting point is, depending on what your positions are, to overcome that. And it's certainly even harder to do it publicly. Obviously, the impact that you have on people, both negatively and positively, is much more significant when you are doing it in a public fashion. I usually look at like why people do this kind of change. Is there a financial reason for it? You know what I mean? Oftentimes, like I've said before, a lot of these people could very easily keep making content in the same way that they were, but they feel bad about it. You know what I mean? They feel bad about it because they reform, they rehabilitate, they grow. It's important. Everyone is capable of this. Every fucking person is capable of going through that same journey, no matter how fucking edgy you are. I hope he doesn't stop making videos. I hope he finds a new voice that, because you can still have some of that edge and maintain it while, not having that kind of edge. You know what I mean? Tana's reaction. Canceled podcast as soon as possible. Crazy times. Wonder if he'd ever come on. I have a lot to say. Definitely never thought this would happen. I'd have said I would. She said, I messaged you.